Hello everyone, this is Shivam Agarwal. Welcome back again. This is the new video where we will discuss the concept of functions inside the class. We'll see how to create the functions, how to use them, and how to manage the parameters of the functions. Okay, so functions are basically a block of codes that are executed when they are called. They are defined inside the class, and we can access them with the use of objects also. Okay, so let us try to create some function here. First of all, creating a function. You already know how to create a function. It is the same inside the class also, using the def keyword, and you can create function with a name. Suppose I'll say add numbers. Okay, I'll say that I am creating a function to add the numbers, and I expect some parameters. First parameter has to be self. This is common in every function inside the class. Second function, I'll be expecting two values, a and b. Okay, so I'll be adding these two values and printing them. So this is how you can create function. You have to specify self parameter here. Now you can just do print using a plus b. Okay, so that this function will take a and b as values and give us the output as their addition. Now how to access these this function and how to surpass these values. These are called the parameters. You already know that self a and b will be the parameters. How to access this function? Let's look at it. We have already created an object with this value specifically for init. Now we'll try to access this function using obj1. Accessing everything, whether it is variable or function, is always the same. We can use object name dot function name, that is add nos. This is the function name. You can write it. Now it expects two values, that is two integers. I'll supply 2 and 3 and try to execute it. Okay, let's see what happens. So it is giving me Raghav 30, that is due to these two print statements. It is giving me 5 because of this function. So object 1 has called add numbers with two values a and b as 2 and 3, and it is giving me the sum as output. Okay, so now that you have seen how to create and use the functions, let's see how to get rid of these two statements that we are using outside of the class to get them inside the class. So just we don't have to use this object1.name print and all again and again. Okay, let's try to create a function that will print the values whenever we want. Okay, so let us try to do that. We'll create def. I'll name it as display. This function is display. Okay, so it expects parameter self, that is of course. Then it expects some name and age. Okay, so I'll supply so because this function displays the values that are already defined inside the class, I won't be required to supply any other parameters to it. Okay, because name and age, I want to print name and age, and they are already defined inside the class. So I don't have to supply any other parameters. Here I defined a and b because I was expecting two values from the object. But as the object belongs to class and these two members also belong to class, I don't have to specify to print these values. Okay, so I'll skip these two values. What I will do is use the print statement here. How to access these two variables? You already know, using self. Okay, self.name, and I'll use another print statement. You can use the same print statement also using format. I'll use it another one, and print.age. So now we don't have to use these two statements out of the class. We can remove this. What we'll do is we can write obj1 dot display, that is our function. Okay, so when we call this function using object1, it will call this function and it will print the two values. Okay, we have get rid of the two print statements outside of the class. Let's try to execute it. We expect the same output, that is the same output that we are getting over here. Okay, so this is how you can create a display function for the properties that you have already defined inside the class. This is how you can create a function for values that you are expecting from the user. And lastly, if you want to change the values inside the function, you can use the same method that I told you in the last video, that is changing using dot operator. Okay, so if I say obj, sorry, not obj, if I define a new value here a is equals to 5, it will give me 5 plus what, 3. Okay, so I can change the value over here also. So it may give me 5 plus 3, that is 8. So you can change the value inside the functions also. This is how you work with functions basically. The one more concept that you can be familiar with while working with functions is that the number of parameters that you can supply to a function is non-limited, but make sure that you do not supply any redundant parameters, because that will increase the executing time of the program. Okay, so this is how that we use the details of the function. That is it for today. Thank you.